Okay, good evening ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Race Spec Esports. We are tonight doing Pacific Series Tier 3, running at the Paul Ricard circuit at Le Castellet in France. The circuit not overly known for being a great racing circuit. It is probably one of the safest racing circuits on the calendar. 2 DRS zones, the best opportunities for overtakes going into turn 1 as well as into the chicane at the end of the Mistral Straight. As we wait for the drivers to get ready for qualifying, it'll be interesting to see whether or not we've got a wet race tonight or whether it's a dry race. Find out from the drivers in race to see whether or not somebody can give us a weather update. It's looking relatively dry at the moment. So standings after the last round, we have Basil on Tour still holding on to first place at the moment from Deputy Dilldog by 1 point. So that's a very close battle there at the top with Stovey 10 points off of the Drivers' Championship at the moment. We'll probably be looking for a better result this week compared to what happened last week. Adi Cheng's also slightly dropping off the pace a bit and now has Snickers Bud for company quite close. Clarence a bit further back again as we work our way down the list to Powersight, who's holding currently on to 10th place. McLaren are leading the Drivers' Championship, the Constructors' Championship at this point, with Haas drop down to second. I think Haas were top prior to last round in Britain, and Williams in third, but much further off the pace than probably what they would like to be. Alright, let's turn this off and have a look and see who's out and about on the track at the moment, looking to set some times. So we have Glorious Noodle, looks like he's probably the first driver out on track. We'll get all this data sorted out so we can see what's going on. So Glorious Noodle's decided to go out onto the track on the medium tyres. Starting in the top 10 on the medium tyres would be the best strategy for this race. So it will be interesting to see whether or not he can make this work. And I've just realised that we weren't getting any audio from the game, so now I fixed that, so hopefully you'll be able to hear the cars. Alright, so we're right on board with Glorious Noodle as he starts his first flying lap on the medium tyres. As we come into turn 1, can run a little bit wider there on the exit of turn 2, just not too wide, otherwise you will invalidate your lap. Can cut quite a bit of that curb there on the inside, and similarly through this section here, being careful as you exit the turn onto the straight that you don't run wide there, otherwise you will invalidate your lap. As we come down the Mistral Straight into the chicane, take a lot of curb on the inside, and again on the inside there, and too much there and you will invalidate your lap, which is exactly what Glorious Noodle has done. Alright, Hold Up Mandan now coming down the Mistral Straight, and we'll see whether or not Dan can get through this section without invalidating, which he's managed to do. So we come down the next little straight towards the the long right hander. Again, you don't want to run wide there, otherwise you will invalidate. And then off the throttle, downshifting the gears as you go through the loop. As we come around to the final set of corners, you can hug quite a bit tighter there if you want. You can take quite a bit of the inside curve of the final corner and then run your way down to the line. And Hot Up Man Dan sets a 130.998. Asher had set a 131.3 and See and Go to 132.1 on the mediums. So See and Go will be wanting to improve a bit from there, I imagine. So Glorious Noodle is probably not going again. I wouldn't have thought this would be another attempt. Doesn't seem to have a lot of ERS on board, but this might be another attempt on the mediums. We'll find out momentarily whether indeed he wants to go around to finish the lap or whether he's going to pit, as Clarence puts in the fastest time of a 130.7. Stobie having put in a 130.738 before him. Clarence has put in what looks like a 130.70, yes, a 130.70. As Glorious Noodle comes across the line and sets a 132.1. Puts him ahead of See and Go, but not by a lot. As Deputy Dilldog goes fastest with a 130.435, so that's nearly 4/10 quicker than Clarence, and is 4/10 quicker than Stobie in third. Alright, let's have a look, see who's... Toto's about to come around and finish his lap and does a 130.13, puts him into P7. Honest Crooks in the pit. Hardy Chengs is on an outlap. El Tonki is invalidated, so I'm not sure what he's doing. Snickers Bud is on an outlap. Delayed Lade is trying to set it. No, he's invalidated as well. Alright, well, let's ride on board with Artie Chengs, who's about to start his flying lap. He goes into turn 1. Take a reasonable amount of the inside there if you want, and take a bit of that inside there. You don't want to take too much, otherwise you're going to invalidate your lap. But he managed that quite well. Again, you can ride a lot of that curb. And similarly here, you can ride a lot of the curb. It doesn't unsettle the car too much because they're fairly flat curbs, not like what we've seen in a lot of other tracks in this year's game, where they seem to have modelled them on the tracks and have the higher curbs. Asher's got himself disqualified from the session for parking in a dangerous location, so that's not gone overly well for Asher, as Toto gets out of the way of Hardy there. Coming through the final few corners of the circuit. So just having a look as Artie Chengs comes across the line. Artie's average qualifying 2.8, so he's usually qualifying in the top 3. He's taken pole once and managed to set a 131.0, so he's got a bit of work to do if he wants to keep that average under 3 for qualifying. Alright, let's have a look, see who else is out on an outlap. F1 boys about to start a flyer. Let's have a look. Yep, looks like the most likely one to start a lap, so let's right on board as Clarence stays nicely out of the way. It's always interesting to note which drivers are driving on controller and which drivers are driving on wheel, as to whether there's anything in the driving style that might actually give that away, as he runs a little bit wide there, but not enough for it to invalidate the lap, which is interesting. Track limits maybe not being looked at in that particular location. This Glorious Noodle stays nicely on the inside. As F1 Boy comes through the chicane at the end of the Mr. Straight. Yeah, 50.641, probably reasonable pace through the middle sector. Probably a little hesitant coming through the loop there on the coming off and sort of going back on the throttle again. May have cost him a little bit similar there through the last couple of corners, a little bit too much on and off throttle, but we'll see what sort of time it's going to be. A 131 something, 131.1. Alright, let's have a look. So we've got Glorious Noodles decided to do away with the mediums and try and qualify on the softs instead. And he's about to start a flying lap. Is anybody else about to come across the line? So Seeing Goats obviously had a warm-up lap there. Jojo Horse Lover is a 10th up on his time from the previous lap. Let's have a look, see if any of our front runners Alright, let's have a look. Right on with Deputy Dilldog, currently sitting on pole. He is now 1.5 tenths, a bit over 1.5 tenths up on his Sector 2 time. So let's have a look and see whether or not Deputy Dilldog can improve. Runs a little bit wide on the curb there, but doesn't invalidate, so that was lucky. As we come through the final corner, he's probably going to get a bit of a tow from the car in front, which might help. 127, 128, 129, 130.2, so improved by a bit over 2 tenths. Let's have a look, where's Clarence at? Clarence is currently up by 5.5 tenths. Which will put him within reaching distance of pole position. May actually snap this from Deputy Dilldog at the death. No, about a 10th off. As Glorious Noodle starts another flyer by the looks. Tries to get a bit of a tow from Clarence there as he goes down the straight into the... We'll call that, I don't know, it's not really a chicane, really it's more two quick left and right handers there. Coming onto the Mistral straight, let's see what his Sector 2 time is looking like. As we get there. Possibly cost himself a bit of time there through the chicane. He's 3 tenths up. 3 tenths will get him above of hold up man Dan, but not enough to jump Clarence, unless he can pick up a bit of... oh no, and he's invalidated the lap. Just ran a little bit wide on the exit there of the loop, and unfortunately he's invalidated. Alright, let's have a look. Hold up man Dan is not on a flyer. Clarence is coming back towards the pit. Let's ride on board with Artie Chengs, who will be looking to improve significantly, I would have thought, from where he is at the moment. I'm not sure that he's going to improve by enough to put him in contention for the. Ran a little bit wide there on the penultimate corner. But we'll see what he can do. And it's a 130.7, so up to 5th. Better than where he was, but not a huge improvement. Stoby's come out again. This will probably be Stoby's final run at it, I would imagine. Toto's about to come around and do a flyer. El Tonki is got an invalid lap, so he's probably going to build up to go again. Honest Crook, the Crook. Let's see what the Crook can do as he comes around the final couple of corners. Probably not going to be a great time. We'll be in the 131s, I would imagine. 131.0s gets him up to 9th. Better than where he was. Let's have a look. There's Delayed Lead. Delayed Lead's had a bit of traffic, and that's probably screwed his. Well, he's on an outlap, so that's okay. Oh, he might be getting out of the way of other cars. Alright, let's see who is about to set a fast lap. Is anybody? They're all pretty much in similar positions here. So, alright, so let's ride on board with Stoby. We need to make up a bit over 5/10 to be able to snatch pole position away, as Clarence holds position on the exit of the pit lane there. And we'll see how Stoby goes. And so he's currently 10th and a half down on his time, which is not great. We don't have long to go, so if he's not sure whether or not he's going to make this a flying lap, or whether he's going to sort of conserve a bit of VRS, because he's bit over 2.5 tenths down. So let's see what is he going to do. He's clearly not conserving ERS. I imagine he's probably going to try and push and go again. There'll be time. He's got plenty of time to come around and have another crack at it. Oh no, he's decided to pit. Stoby has given up. 6th place is going to be what he's going to be getting. So, Glorious Noodle, a bit over 2.5 tenths up on his time. That'll be enough to push him up to P3, but we'll need to improve a bit more to push into the front row of the grid. See how he goes, comes across. Check the DRS line, and it's a 130.8, so he didn't actually improve, lost time in the final sector there. Alright, Delayed Legs, early doors, Hold Up Man Dan's early. Deputy Dilldog ahead of Clarence? Yes, I think he is. So let's ride on board with Deputy Dilldog. He's currently 10th and a half down in his fastest time. So it looks like drivers are struggling to actually improve on their previous times on their final runs. So we'll see whether or not Dilldog can improve. but if not, Powersight is currently in P2. He's pushed Clarence out. No, Deputy Dog has backed out of it. It's not going to improve. Clarence is a little under a tenth up on his time. There'll be enough if he gets across the line here, if he can maintain that, and does put himself back into P2 as Hold Up Man Dan pulls into the pits. Delayed Lade's looking to come across the line and manages a 130.4. Moves out Hold Up Man Dan, pushes him down to 5th, and that looks like everybody has finished their flying laps. So our top 3 for you, ladies and gentlemen: Deputy Dog's pole position, Clarence in P2, Powersight in P3, Delayed Lade in P4, Hold Up Man, Glorious Noodle, Artie Cheng's, Stoby won't be happy with that qualifying performance, I don't think. Snee and Goat, Snickers Bud, you know, as we've seen, Snickers Bud, maybe not the best qualifier in the world, but can actually pull it out in the race. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Similarly, Honest Crook can probably do something a bit better in race than what they've shown in qualifying. Alright, so very shortly we will get you to the race. In the meantime, so we'll just go back to the driver's standing. So Basil on tour is not actually here tonight, which is interesting. A lot riding on the league here for him to miss a race. So this puts Deputy Dog in the driver's seat, really, to take the lead of the Drivers' Championship. If he can convert pole into the race win, that's going to put him a fair way ahead of Basil, and potentially, depending on what Stoby and Artie Chengs can do, the gap at the top might be quite large at the end of this race. So it'll be interesting to see how this one develops, whether Deputy can actually hold that race lead from beginning to end. So it's looking like there's a chance of rain possibly towards the end of the race. 31% chance of rain at the 30-minute mark. So we'll see how that pans out. So having a look at the driver performance graph here, see what sort of performance improvements we've seen from drivers. So Deputy Dog probably the biggest performance improvement since the start of the season, and we'll obviously potentially see that improve even further at the end of this race, given that his chief competitor is not racing tonight. So I'm sure Basil will be very disappointed to have missed the race. It looks like he was running late and has missed the race, which is why he's not here tonight. Oh, he has joined. Okay, he's joined. So Basil has joined for the race, but obviously he's going to start at the back, which obviously means that he'll have to do the last to first challenge again. Which, for the spectators is good to watch. So it's predicting the best strategies are still 2-stop. I'm not sure why anyone would go soft, medium, hard, but anyway. I think soft, medium, medium, if you are starting on the soft tyres, is the right approach. Medium hards, assuming no rain and no safety cars, will be the quickest strategy, and probably the strategy that I would imagine most of the bottom 9 will probably do. I can't imagine if there's going to be rain at the end, I guess, or at some point, if there's going to be rain during this race, if the medium runners are smart and they can hang it out on those mediums for a little bit longer to get to maybe wet conditions and change, or potentially go back in for their pit stop and put another set of mediums on, or a set of softs, maybe put a set of softs on, get a bit of pace going into possibly the wet conditions, and then pit when everybody else has to pit again and hold their positions on track. So realistically speaking, Honest Crook is really sitting in tactical pole in P11. So it'll be good to see whether or not... so can we actually see... Just waiting for... So yes, everybody except for El Tonki, who's gone on the hards, which I saw him do on Sunday as well. Alright, getting ready. This is pretty crap. There we go. As the 5 lights are on, and they're out, and we are racing here at La Castellet at the Paul Ricard circuit. As we come through turn 1, does everybody get through turn 1 alright? Are there any shenanigans? People cutting corners. Cars had a spin there. That looks like Toto. Toto looks like he has had a spin. Yes, he has. Has he taken any damage? Hard to see from that camera angle. It's a bit far away. Strange cameras they've got set up on this game. Doesn't look like he's taken any damage. Power Sight's also had a spin there at the start. Alright. Deputy Dilldog's trying to get away from the chasing pack. It's all very tight here at the moment, as Hold Up Man Dan has a look at the inside of Clarence there, but thinks twice about it. So again, that predicted pit stop strategy. If we're going to get rain at the end, I suspect that medium soft and then onto intermediate tyres, if that's what's going to happen, as we've got something going on at the back here. Somebody's had a spin, or Tonki's had a spin. Doesn't look like he's taken any damage, but he's on those harder tyres, so that was always going to be a risk for him. So Hold Up Man Dan trying to stick on the tail of Clarence. Delay's trying to chase him down. So Basil is already up. We've got cars pitting. I'm assuming Goodwill and Toto have taken damage. Yes, Goodwill's taken damage. And I'm going to assume Toto has also taken damage. Yeah. So I'm not sure what's happened there, but they may have collided with each other. Alright. So Basil's already up to P11, so he's making a charge through the pack. Let's ride on board with Basil for a bit. Let's see. So he's right on the tail of Snickers Bud. We don't have DRS yet, but he's looking. Has a look up the inside as we go into the chicane at the end of the Mistral Straight. Now it's saying medium hard. Medium soft, so it's obviously updated the predictions on the tyres. So the top 7 has sort of started to build a bit of a gap to CN Goat, who's in P8. He's out of DRS at the moment. Once we come around to the end of this lap and DRS gets enabled, Basil gets a little bit close there under braking to Snickers Bud. as Deputy Dilldog sets the fastest time, and then everybody sets fastest times behind him. As we've got some movement at the back coming into the into turn 1, I imagine. So Basil is right on this pack. The Snickers Bud is desperate to get ahead of Honest Crook, and he's going to have DRS, but Crook's going to have DRS on CN Goat, who's managed to get himself back into DRS perhaps of... Let's have a look from here. Did CN Goat get onto the DRS or not? I reckon he must have, because he's managed to maintain his distance to... as Basil touches the rear end of Snickers Bud there under braking. They've both come out of that. I think everything's okay. Basil's having a look. He's trying to get the move done. He wants to get into that top 10 group as quickly as he possibly can to try and gain as many positions as he possibly can on the soft tyre running drivers. So just looking at the chat, the Grim Reaper is letting us know that Clarence did very well for his qualifying, given that he has got as Honest Crook and CN Goat. Honest Crook has a look at CN Goat, maybe a bit of contact there as they went through the corner. As Snickers Bud's trying to get up the inside as we go into the fast left and right, and Basil on 2 is looking to get... Oh no, and there's contact by the looks of things. Is that contact or is that just lag? I'm not sure what's happened there, folks. I'm not sure if there was contact or not. It looked like contact on screen, but they're all still driving quite alright, so I'm going to put that down to a lag glitch as Basil gets the overtake done on Snickers Bud. And in that whole thing, Honest Crook and CN Goat have both gotten ahead of Delayed Lade, so I'm not sure what's happened there. We'll go and have a look at what's happening out the front here. Clarence is still quite tight to Deputy Dilldog, and Hold Up Man's hanging on with him. There's a gap formed now. The top 3 are pulling away from Glorious Noodle. Glorious Noodle, who is also, I believe, on the softs, as we've got something happening. I think Delayed Lade may have had an issue, or Power Sight's had an issue. Somebody's had an issue back here. We've got people pitting. Stobie's gone into the pits on the soft tyres on lap 5, so he's first of the soft runners to pit and has to get a nose change. So that's going to put a dent in Stobie's ambitions for the race today. Alright, let's have a look. Basil on tour is looking to get the overtake done on CN Goat as they go around the corner. There's maybe a bit rude there as they go through the corner, or whether he's forced him out there or not. Hard to tell from that angle. But CN Goat will be trying to fight off Snickers Bud as they go into the chicane at the end of the Mistral Straight. And he's kind of running wide there as he's got that overtake done. I don't know that was completely legal. I think he's forced him wide there to get that position. F1 Boy is looking to get a move done on Asher as at the back of the mid of the pack as well. So there's a bit of battling going on there. Let's go back to the front. Let's have a look as we've got another spinner. El Tonki's had another spin on those hard tyres. This race probably isn't going the way El Tonki was hoping it would go. Neither has it gone well for all of the guys at the back who've obviously had to stop for fresh tyres with damage. So Stovey's gone onto the hard tyres, which is interesting. If we were going to get rain at the end of the race, I probably wouldn't have done that. Anyway, so Clarence right on Deputy Dilldog. These two now have broken away a bit, although Clarence has just made a bit of an error there and has allowed Glorious Noodle to get back in touch, but not enough to have picked up DRS, so Clarence will pull back close to Deputy Dilldog again. Neither of them have got a lot of ERS left. They're obviously using that quite heavily to try and stay where they are on track, as Basil has just overtaken Honest Crook, and Honest Crook is looking to fight that position back as we go into the right-hander, but decides against going up the inside. Very similar corner to Cop's corner. You don't really want to be throwing yourself up the inside there. It's going to lead to disaster as a general rule. So we'll see whether or not Honest can hang on to the back of Basil here. So Basil has made a massive charge, and Honest Crook's done well as well. Starting 11th, he's managed to get up to P6 as we have the front runners now pitting. So we'll see whether or not anyone jumps anybody. Deputy Dilldog was leading the race, and it looks like he's going to maintain the lead of the race. Glorious Noodle is coming up behind him. Clarence stayed out, so Clarence has decided to go one more lap. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not Clarence whether he loses out second place to Glorious Noodle here, because the undercut, I suspect, is probably going to be relatively strong. So if Clarence, by staying out and deciding to do different to what the others did, he's possibly done himself a disservice there. So we'll see what happens. We're right on board with Clarence. He's coming around the loop. We'll go through the last couple of corners. We're right on board with him. We'll go into the pits. We'll keep our eye on the track map. We'll see where he's going to come out. As Basil on tour gets the overtake done on Artie Cheng's while we're looking at this. So Basil on tour is now P2 and will be effective race leader. So Clarence comes into the pits. Where is he going to come out? Deputy Dilldog's coming around the corner, final corner. Snickers Bud's there. Clarence is coming out of the pits. Deputy Dilldog's coming down the pit lane. This is going to be... I think Clarence has lost out here. He's going to come out and he's going to be in P3, or what was P3, behind Glorious Noodle, as Glorious Noodle picks up a time penalty. Alright, let's go back to the front of the race here. We've got Basil and Honest Crook. So Basil is going to have to fight off Honest, who is obviously going to have DRS. Basil's not going to have the benefit of DRS. But Honest doesn't have a lot of ERS, whereas Basil is doing quite well on the ERS. So Basil's last to first challenge again this week. Looks like it's still on. So we'll see how things develop. Powersight is actually just behind as Hold Up Man Dan picks up a 3-second penalty. Powersight's just in behind Deputy Dilldog now, if I remember correctly. So Powersight still hasn't pitted on those soft tyres, so he's going to drop a fair way down the pecking order here, I think, once he comes down into pit. As Artie Cheng's pits on those soft tyres to come back out on those mediums. It is starting to look quite gloomy, folks, so there is a good chance here that we will, and Artie's gone onto the hard tyres. I reckon there's a good chance of rain here. It's looking pretty gloomy. I suspect that we'll see the clouds coming in, and it'll make things very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. A Snickers Bud is dropped down to 16th after pitting on those soft tyres onto the mediums. So Honest Crook dropped out of DRS but managed to pick it back up again on Basil. And Basil's still got plenty of VRS in store. Whereas Honest is having to deploy everything he's got to just stick with him. And he's dropped out of VRS again, so just checking back here, Clarence and Glorious Noodle going side by side through the loop, which is always a risk as they manage to get through there, but Clarence has got the inside line going into the next corner. But then Glorious Noodle's got it on the exit. So Glorious Noodle has managed to hold off Clarence. Clarence gone onto another set of soft tyres. So rather than go soft medium, he's decided to go, I guess soft medium medium. He's decided to go soft soft. So is he thinking, I can go the softs, I can gain some positions on these guys by having the faster tyre, and then when I come in to pit for inters, when that rain does come, which it does look like it's coming, folks, the rain does look like it's coming, he'll be able to go in and pit on onto those probably inter tyres, I would imagine, for the last bit of the race, as Deputy Dilldog is getting the overtake done on Delayed Laid as they go into the chicane at the end of the Mistral Straight. So Deputy Dilldog picking up places as Glorious Noodle also gets the overtake done. Clarence will be trying to get the overtake done as well. Delayed Laid's pushing out those soft tyres as far as he can as Clarence runs a bit wide there in the dirty air of the car ahead of him. Manages to get the overtake done going into the loop. Delayed Laid, I'm guessing, is trying to hang those softs out for as long as he possibly can to try and avoid a second pit stop when the rain comes. As Asher comes into the pits, the rain has started falling, folks. The rain has started falling, so it'll be interesting to see, is Asher coming in, making a bold choice to go on to the inters early? It does look like that. Asher has decided to gamble, go onto those inter tyres, and hopefully, get the jump on the other cars around him. So we've got Powersight doing the same, I imagine. Yep, putting the inters on. So we've had two that have come in. They've made that early gamble, and Powersight's getting a wing change at the same time, making that early gamble, hoping that it's going to pay off. Now Delayed Laid, who's hung out on those soft tyres, this may be a masterstroke in a lot of ways, because if he can keep hanging out on those soft tyres maybe for another lap as we wait for the rain to start coming down a bit more. And we've got a safety car. What's happened? Oh, Glorious Noodle, Glorious Noodle, what has happened to Glorious Noodle? Let's right on board with Toto. Let's see what happened to Glorious Noodle. It looks like he may have binned it coming out of the turn. Yes, he has. The wetter conditions, he's gone through that corner a bit too fast, caught the curb on the outside, lost the back end by the looks of it, and gone into the wall. So this has even worked out even better for all of the front-running drivers. They're all going to come in, I imagine, to put on those inter tyres. Delayed Laid, he stayed out, and has, is he coming in? Is Delayed Laid coming in? Yes, he's coming in now, having pushed those soft tyres as far as he possibly could, has actually put himself in a really good position to get a good result here. A very good tactical masterstroke well done for delayed lane. That's some smart driving there. Okay, he was losing positions as the cars on the medium tyres, the fresher medium tyres, were sort of chasing him down, but by hanging out, he hasn't had to pit a second time like the other soft runners have had to do now. So all the cars ahead that haven't pitted yet for fresh tyres, so Snickers Bud, Tontu V, and Clarence, who's hung out there, they'll have to come in and put those inters on, I would imagine, very, very soon. And it's looking like it's chucking it down. So it'll be interesting to know whether or not we just stay on inters here, or whether it gets wet enough to actually justify coming back in and putting full wets. We're not even halfway through the race yet, folks, so this could get very wet before the end. But it could also stop and dry up, which will make it interesting as well. Alright, so Basil still on for his last to first again, so we'll see what he's capable of doing. See what he can pull out here, whether he can pull out this last to first victory. So Stoby, who's currently in third, has decided to stay out on the hard tyres, which seems like an interesting decision. The track does seem to be getting a lot wetter, and he is going to come in now. Unfortunately, this is going to drop him a fair way back. So I think going onto those hard tyres when he had to pit earlier after taking damage was probably not the right call. He probably should have just put softs on, and even if they'll use softs, put them on, and then he probably would have been okay. So we're interested to see where he washes out here coming out of the pits. P12 by the looks of things, but he is going to be on slightly fresher inters, which, if we stay on inters to the end of the race, which is possible, he'll have slightly fresher tyres than everybody else. So I imagine we'll probably do another tour. Maybe not after. Maybe this might be the last tour under the safety car. Although that being said, El Tonki is miles away from the pack, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not the safety car does wait for him. Stoby ends up P13. Alright, so as it stands, our top three are Basil on Tour, Honest Crook, and F1 Boy. Deputy Dill Dog is in fourth. He's still in with a fighting chance here of getting the win that he will want. But obviously with Basil actually making the race, it does mean that whatever happens here, it's going to remain tight at the top. If Basil holds on to the win, then he will, pull a bigger gap if things stay the way they are. So if Basil stays first and Deputy Dill Dog stays fourth, then it will be it'll be a bit of a bigger gap at the end of this race. But we'll see what happens, folks. Wet conditions, anything is possible, as Tontu V picks up a 5-second penalty for a severe collision under the safety car. You've got to watch that, guys. You've got to keep the gap to the car, particularly in these wet conditions. You've got to keep the gap to the car and in front of you, otherwise you will get that 5-second penalty. And as it says in the rules, the slightly rewritten rules this year for following, and particularly under safety car conditions, keeping and maintaining that gap, it is getting punished a lot more now. So You know, if you do pick up a 5-second penalty in game 4, hitting the back of the car in front of you, there's a good chance that if you appeal for that penalty to be removed, assuming you don't serve it in the pits, it's probably a good chance that it's not going to get removed anyway. Whereas the car in front who gets hit from behind, well, not a lot they can do about that. Theirs will probably get removed if they pick one up. I don't know, let's have a look at the things, whether Toto picked up one. Possibly, Toto's picked up a drive-through penalty. That's what's happened there. Speeding under the safety car. Very easy to do if you don't get it right. So, having a look at it, power sights on the older set of Inters there. Clarence is on the freshest set, but is now in P18, so I'm not sure what's happened there, whether Clarence waiting for as long as he did has resulted in him dropping further down, or maybe he'd taken some damage and he had to get a wing replaced. But depending on what happens from here, this could be race over potentially for Clarence. You know, having qualified P2, that's going to be bitterly disappointing for him to now be bringing up the rear of the pack. But is on fresher Inters compared to the others, so you know, if that comes into play at the end of the race, you never know, he may be quicker than those around him. Alright, so safety car is coming in, and Basil on tour is going to get us back to racing speed as the drivers try and heat up their tyres. Everyone's recovered their ERS, so everybody's starting with 100%. So obviously now that it's wet, no DRS as Basil gets us away, and Honest Crook is wise to it, has a look on the outside, but Basil manages to have a big enough gap for him to not be in range for that overtake. Looking further back, Stobie has managed to get an overtake done by the looks of things. Snickers Bud as well on Jojo Horselover. I think they've both managed to get ahead of Jojo Horselover, as we've got a spinning Williams of Asher. So Asher has had a spin. Is there damage there? It's hard to see. It may just be cold tyre spin in wet conditions, as Clarence has picked up 2 spots and is right on the tail of El Tonki here as they go down the Mistral Straight. So this will be interesting to see what happens as Hold Up Man gets ahead of Goodwill, as El Tonki is trying to hold on. Oh, and there's a bit of contact there as they go into the chicane. I don't know if there's any damage, but Asher is right on Clarence's tail, having a look to try and win a position back, but it doesn't look like it's on at this point, as El Tonki manages to stay ahead. Clarence doesn't seem to be dropping off, so maybe no wing damage taken there as he tries to go up the inside, as we have another spinner. Hold Up Man Dan's had a spin there. I don't know if there was contact or whether he's just again had a wet spin. Alright, let's see what's happening up front here. Basil and Honest are starting to pull a bit of a gap to F1 Boy. F1 Boy's got Deputy Dilldog for a bit of company. And Delayed Lade's a bit further back, so the gaps are forming now in these wet conditions. Things aren't necessarily panning out the way people were hoping. Deputy Dilldog's hanging here with F1 Boy. Will be looking to try and get that overtake done as we go down the Mistral Straight, as Clarence has now moved up to P14, has finally gotten that overtake done on El Tonki. Deputy Dilldog now is chasing down F1 Boy. He's got plenty of ERS, but they've both got plenty of ERS, so it doesn't look like we're deploying, which means that they're trying to hold station and maintain their ERS to maybe attack later. But F1 Boy is too far off the back of Honest Crook now to be getting any sort of significant slipstreaming. So I'm hearing in the chat that Clarence had a glitch with Jeff. Had to pit 3 times as Jeff kept putting mediums on instead of inters. So that's why Clarence dropped it down as far as he did. So a bit of a game glitch there potentially for Clarence. Alright, so Delayed Lade's now in this conversation with Deputy Dilldog and F1 Boy. Deputy Dilldog will be having a look maybe. There's a little bit of lagging going on there as F1 Boy sort of blinks in and out of existence. But Deputy Dilldog not close enough at this point. F1 Boy, they're both holding their ERS quite well, which means it's going to be hard for Deputy Dilldog to get an overtake done. And all the while, his main rival is pulling further and further away as Stoby picks up a 3-second penalty. It's definitely not turning out the way Stoby would have wanted this race, unfortunately. As Clarence is battling now here with Tontu V. We've had another spinner. Power Sight's had a spin. Has he taken any damage? No damage obvious there. As Clarence is trying desperately to climb his way back up the order. And Hold Up Man Dan picks up a 3-second time penalty. At the moment, the only front-running driver who has a penalty is Deputy Dilldog. So, oh no, there's been a collision there between, who's that spinning out? Jojo Horse Lover had a bit of a collision there with El Tonki, I think, as they were going through the chicane at the end of the Mistral Straight. So I don't know if El Tonki's taken any damage out of that. Hard to tell. He is running wide there, so maybe there's some slight wing damage there as CN Goat picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. So pretty much everyone 7 down to 11 now has penalties of some kind. Toto's gone and served his drive-through penalty, so he's right at the back of the pack. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not El Tonki is going to come into the pits. No, he's not. He's coming around the final corner, so maybe no damage there. Alright, Clarence is up to P12 and looking to get P11, and it looks like he's probably going to get that done quite easily as we go into turn 1. As he holds that position over Tontu V. And Power Sight, despite all the spins, is still in the hunt here. Alright, having a look up the... Oh, we've got another... What's happened here? Artie Cheng's... Oh no, Artie, what's happened to Artie? What's happened to Artie? We missed what happened to Artie Cheng's there, folks. But this race is definitely not going the way Artie would have liked. Unfortunate. Alright, moving back up the front. So we've got Deputy Dilldog, Delayed Lade, and F1 Boy. The Delayed Lade's a little bit further back, but Deputy Dilldog's really looking to push to get that position from F1 Boy. He really wants to get in touch with these cars in the lead. He's pretty much effectively nearly 7 seconds behind Basil at this point, so he really needs to get the overtake done on F1 Boy as soon as he possibly can. But they're both running similar levels of VRS, so they're quite evenly matched here at the moment in what they're doing. So Delayed Lade's in there in the conversation, just hanging on, having to use a lot more ERS to try and catch these two than maybe he would like. As Deputy Dilldog still not deploying the ERS as he's gone down the straight. He's now deploying it. He's looking to get the overtake done as we go into the right-hander, and has a look, backs out of it, thinks no, wasn't safe. I'll have another look as we get onto the Mistral Straight. Delayed Lade's there as well now. He's gotten much closer as Deputy Dilldog puts on a little bit of ERS, but Delayed Lade's looking hungry here. No, he's had to think about it, but didn't want to, didn't have enough ERS to deploy to be able to out ERS Deputy Dilldog. Deputy Dilldog still looking at the back of F1 Boy. He must be getting sick of the sight of that at the moment. As Clarence is now up to P10. And Hold Up Man Dan back up to P11 after his earlier issues. So coming around the final couple of corners, we'll see whether or not. So Deputy Dilldog is burning up a bit more ERS than F1 Boy at the moment, but he's a lot closer this time round. So if he can get a good exit here, he may be able to have a crack at him. I don't think he's gotten the exit he wanted there, so I don't think he's going to have enough to... No, he didn't have enough to get it done. The gap is now nearly out to 9 seconds between Deputy Dilldog and Basil on Tour. Honest Crook's running his own race there in P2, just doing his own thing, knowing he's got plenty of time in between him and the cars behind him. Currently no penalties, so Deputy Dilldog's chances of getting a podium in this race are very quickly evaporating, because he is running that penalty at the moment of 3 seconds. As we go down the Mistral Straight, it looks like he might try and get the overtake done this. No, he's decided against it again. Hold Up Man Dan, 11 seconds worth of penalties there. Is Deputy Dilldog going to have another crack here as Artie Cheng picks up a penalty? Where's our man Stoby? Stoby's in P9 now, so as Deputy Dilldog looks around the outside, going into the loop, thinks twice, but he's running out of laps to get the overtake done here. He's running out of laps, so he's going to have to make a bold move at some point in time, otherwise he is at risk of not finishing on the podium today after having put in a stonking performance in qualifying. To not get the podium would be very disappointing for him, I'm sure, as he's deploying a bit of ERS to try and stay with F1 Boy. F1 Boy still maintaining a good level of ERS there, so I keep saying DRS when I mean ERS. Not a lot of sleep last night, folks, and my brain's not quite where it needs to be. So let's have a look. Can Deputy Dilldog this time around stay close enough to F1 Boy through the corner onto the Mistral Straight to be able to have a crack at getting the overtake done? F1 Boy is pushing out ERS. Deputy Dilldog close, but not close enough. So he's trying to hang with him here, see if he can get the overtake done going into the loop again. See whether or not he's able. So it's not really a great overtaking spot, but if you can manage to chuck one up the inside or around the outside going into the loop, you can pull off the overtake, but it is fraught with danger, obviously, trying to do that. Looking further down the pack while we're riding with this one, Cian Goat in 7th, Snickers Bud and Stoby are battling out for P8 there. As Deputy Dilldog is deploying a bit of ERS, but still not close enough to get the overtake done. We're on lap 22 of 27, folks, so 6 laps to go. It's not leaving Deputy Dilldog a lot of time to gap, as we've got we've got a DNF. Asher has gone out. Let's see what's happened. He's spun off. Yeah, he's obviously lost it on the exit of the final corner there. So, folks, we have a safety car. Now, as Ton2V picks up another 5-second penalty for a severe collision, this time with Artie Chengs, who has DNF'd. As a result of that, potentially, has he DNF'd as a result of that contact with Tontu V? Hard to know, we didn't see what happened there. It's quite possible, as Toto picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So, similar to the race in Tier 3 on Sunday, we have a safety car on lap 22 as Toto picks up yet another drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Ooh, as Deputy Dilldog has to take avoiding action there. Got a little bit too close to F1 Boy. Now, this is relatively bad news, I guess, for Basil. Because he had such a commanding lead in the race, and these guys are all going to bunch up behind. Now, if this is anything like what happened in the Tier 2 race on Sunday, we'll probably stay out with the safety car potentially until lap 25, which doesn't leave a lot of time to build a gap if you're running a penalty, which is the problem that Deputy Dilldog finds himself with now. Because they're going to be bunched, if he can't get a gap, if he can't get ahead of F1 Boy early into the safety car restart and try and start building a gap, he could, well, depending on how close, Clarence is, comparatively speaking, Clarence could move into the top 5 when all is said and done, because all the cars ahead of him are running penalties. So if he can stick with those guys, he can actually push back into the top 5. Delayed Laid at the moment looking good for a top 4 finish, possibly even a podium if he can get ahead of F1 Boy. Even if Deputy Dilldog gets ahead of F1 Boy, if Delayed Laid can get ahead of F1 Boy, bloody mouthfuls these names, then potentially he could take the podium at the end of the race, as the Hold Up Man Dan picks up a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. I'm going to assume that was a spin of some kind. That's resulted in, given that Toto is now right on his tail, I'm going to assume he's had a spin, cut a corner, and or outbraked himself and ran across the chicane. That's going to add insult to injury for Hold Up Man Dan, who was looking promising at the start of the race, having qualified reasonably well. Whoops, as Basil runs a little bit wide there, probably trying to avoid the back of the safety car. We're going to go around here, I think, a few times, folks, because the gap at the back there, Jojo Horselover in P16, the unlucky P16 at the moment, because he's not going to get any points for that finish. But it's his first race out, first league race ever, from what I saw in the Discord chat earlier. So, I guess if he finishes the race, I think that's an achievement in itself. So I think we're going to come around, folks, probably to start lap 25, possibly still under safety car conditions. Unless these 3 cars at the back can catch up relatively quickly, we may go around again. So we're going to have a 3-lap sprint to the finish as Jojo Horselover overtakes Hold Up Man Dan. I'm going to assume Hold Up Man Dan has had another moment, and the game has told Jojo to overtake him. Otherwise, Jojo would have gotten a penalty for that. So no word from the safety car coming in. The lights are still on, so I reckon, folks, we are going around to lap 25 here, and we are going to have a 3-lap sprint to the end. Potentially. Oh, actually no, it'll be a 2-lap sprint to the end. 2-lap sprint to the end, because we're coming around onto lap 25 now, which will only leave us at the end of that lap 26 and lap 27. So 2-lap sprint to the finish for Basil, Honest Crook, F1 Boy, Deputy Dilldog, and probably Delayed Late. If we're being honest, Goodwill, Goat, Snickers Bud and Stobie are probably out of the equation here just because of their penalties. Clarence still in with a chance of a top 5 finish if he can get a good restart. Considering the troubles that he's had with his Jeff, I think a top 5 finish, he'd be happy with that, everything considered. Stobie, P9, not the result he would have wanted. Snickers Bud, again, not had the greatest race this weekend. Goat, you know, he's always there and thereabouts in the mid-pack, so he's being fairly consistent to form. Goodwill probably having a better race than he has had in recent times. Otonki will probably be ruining those hard tyres that he started with. I think probably the wrong choice. I think you got to look at the predicted weather conditions and kind of think about it and go, well, if it's raining, if it's going to rain at the end of the race, I should probably be on a faster tyre at the start. And we've seen, you know, with Delayed Late that he stayed out on those soft tyres much longer than anybody else, and so only had to do the 1 pit. So safety car is coming in this lap, so we are going to have a sprint finish, folks. The last 2 laps. Best man wins. Best man, best woman. I don't know if we've got any girls in this league, folks. But if we do, best person wins, I think, from here. Basil will be bitterly disappointed, I think, if he were to lose this race now, having fought his way back from 19th to get onto the front of the pack. If he loses the race from here, he'll probably be quite disappointed. But Honest Crook, fierce competitor, didn't have the best of races on Sunday. Has definitely recovered today. I guess, you know, having already done 27 laps of this circuit, he's got his head around it as Basil gets us back going. He's caught Honest Crook napping there a little as Deputy Dilldog, and we've got a spin at the back. Jojo Horse Lover by looks might have had a spin as Basil tries to pull away as Deputy Dilldog is right on the tail of F1 Boy. So we'll see what happens here, folks, as we come around. Everybody's pretty much holding station in all the other positions. Clarence might want to see if he can get some overtakes done as Snickers Bud gets ahead of Goodwill in the back of this leading pack here. Deputy Dilldog's looking, but thinks twice, decides not to go for it. But if he wants to get ahead, he is going to have to make a bold move soon. Otherwise, it will be a P5 finish for Deputy Dilldog, having started from pole position. So it'll be quite disappointing for him. But F1 Boy, Honest Crook, Basil have played this race to perfection, really, folks. They made the right call starting in the bottom half of the table to go onto the medium tyres, and were able to hold off until the rain came and make that one stop onto the inters. And again, similar with Delayed Late, he's done fantabulous, holding onto those soft tyres it's definitely gained him a lot of places that he probably wouldn't have got otherwise. So F1 Boy is already falling off the back of the leading two. So that does give Deputy Dilldog a chance, potentially. Is he going to try and throw one? It does look like he's wanting to have a go. Whether or not he can get the overtake done, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference, I don't think, in the grand scheme of things here, because he's still going to finish P5, possibly lower if Clarence is now up to P8, so Clarence still in with a chance of a top 5 finish here if Deputy Dilldog can't get the overtake done, and it doesn't look like he's going to. Oh, they've touched there. He's given him a bit of a tap from behind, but they've both managed to maintain their positions. Nobody's lost out. Deputy Dilldog going to go and have another crack at it here. He's thinking about it. He's backing out of it again. Maybe dive up. No, he's... I think the opportunity's gone, folks, for Deputy Dilldog. As Basil's coming around the last couple of corners. And will be momentarily coming across the line for the race win, having gone from 19th to 1st. Somebody has a spin at the end there, and Basil on tour is your race winner today, folks. Well done, Basil. Great race from Honest Crook, a great race from F1 Boy, fantastic effort from Delayed Laid, and Clarence does pick up that P5 at the end. So Clarence will be very happy with that outcome, I suspect, given where he was at the start of that changing of conditions, having to pit the multiple times to get onto the Inters. So I think he will be very happy indeed with that P5 finish. Unlucky for Deputy Dilldog, couldn't hold on, couldn't get past F1 Boy when he needed to get past him, and a deserved podium, I think, from all three drivers who managed to finish on the podium there. Alright, I think we're going to get the podium finishers hopefully on to do some post-race interviews. I see that Basil's joined us. I'm not sure yet whether or not Honest Crook and F1 Boy have joined the chat. We'll give them a couple of seconds, but then we'll maybe just chat with Basil. So Basil obviously with the win, Honest Crook second, F1 Boy third, and Delayed Laid in fourth. Clarence getting at that P5, having started P2. Deputy Dilldog unfortunately dropping back to P6. Snickersbud in 7th. Stobie, not the race he wanted, in P8. Powersight did alright, came back, managed to get P9. El Tonki, having started on his hard tyres, will probably be pretty happy with a 10th place. Alright. So, let's have a chat. I think Basil's the only one on board, so let's just unmute the mic. Are you there, Basil?
Yes, I am there.
So, last to first. How did that feel?
Again.
that
one was better because I had more drivers to overtake and no penalties.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? Very easy to pick up penalties at Paul Ricard. So many spots that you can actually you run wide and get a warning. So how do you avoid picking up those penalties?
I'm not going to lie, I was pretty lucky, to be honest. I had 2 warnings, and every single time at the chicane I was going over the curves. So I was pretty lucky not to get a warning.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine lines, isn't it? There's some corners there where you can take quite a bit of curb and not to get a warning, but there's other corners there where you take a bit of curb and suddenly you've taken too much and you end up picking up one of those warnings.
Yeah, the exit of turn 2 in particular, you run slightly wide and you get a warning, so it's
Yep.
a bit annoying.
So how did you find the conditions at the end there with the change onto the inters?
I was pretty used to it actually, because I raced on Sunday night and it was pouring intermediates the whole time.
Yeah,
So,
right. Okay. So
yeah,
you already had some experience in those conditions.
yeah, I'm an expert.
It was like I said. I guess starting on the medium tires, you did have the advantage knowing the weather was probably going to turn. Um, were you expecting it to turn quite as early
No, I
as it
did
did?
not. I accidentally started on the mediums, which was a blessing in disguise.
Oh, right.
I thought I thought I'd selected softs,
Ah, right. Well, there you
so I was
go.
like mad for
So,
the first 5 laps because my car wouldn't turn.
well, that if you think about it, Delayed Lade did start on the soft tires, and he was able to hang on to them until the change in the weather came in, and then I think we had the safety car, didn't we? Right at the
Yeah,
start of
two
that,
safety cars.
and then he came in and was the only soft runner still running, and that I think really helped him out. He managed to finish P4 with that situation. So had you gone onto the softs, you potentially could have done the same thing.
Yeah, I would
Um,
have stayed out if I started on the softs. So
yeah, and then I mean, it probably obviously wouldn't have made any difference to the outcome of the race because you still would have probably won. But well done anyway for last
thank
to
you.
first. It's always an interesting one to watch when a driver manages to go from last to first. It's the hard way of doing things, though, mate. You've got to start
Yeah, I couldn't
getting
hack
home in
it because
time for qualifying. Hey.
my footy training got moved to 8 o'clock. Like finished at 8 o'clock. So a bit annoying.
Ah, dear. All right. I don't know if anybody else
Thank
joined
you.
the chat here, so
No, there is no one else here.
I think it's just you. So um, I guess next week we are in Belgium, so it's Spa. How do you fancy your
Ooh,
chances in Spa?
that would probably be my favorite track on the calendar. So
Okay. You
I
so
would
you
love
fancy
to
your
win that one.
chances?
Yeah, but then again, I didn't fancy my chances at the last 2 tracks, and I've done well in both of them. So
Well, that's true. You have. So so if you maybe the reverse might happen
yeah,
in
let's not
Belgium.
hope for that.
Hopefully not. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Basil, and congratulations on another good win. And I guess with Deputy Dilldog finishing in P6, that's managed to allow you to pull away a bit now. Um,
Yep,
so solidifying your position at the top of the standings.
yep, perfect.
All right,
Thank you,
mate. Well,
and
good.
hope to see you next week.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck for next week, and hopefully your footy training doesn't get in the way of qualifying.
I think, let's hope for that. Yeah, see you.
All right. Thanks, Basil. Cheers, mate. All right, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. So, as you can see from the calendar, next week we are at Spa-Francorchamps. Um, Always an exciting race. So many opportunities for things to go wrong, especially if we get a wet race. Going through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. There's always going to be drama through there. So look forward to it next week, folks, and hope you tune in and we get another good race. Have a great week, folks. See ya.